Today we're going over the last New Heroes banner for Book 9. Well, it's more like a new hero banner and some interesting choices. This delayed banner that got swapped with the monthly banner features Vanitas from the still ongoing Book 6 Tempest side plot. We then have harmonic pairings of Brave Ike / Roy and Lyn / Lucina. If you're confused, then you're not alone. I don't think there's really any rhyme or reason why we're getting these units besides the fact that devs seem to think we've actually run out of new heroes they want to sell. They keep using the word celebration for this banner, but what are we celebrating? If you want to celebrate Book 10, make this the Book 10 banner. If you want to celebrate CYO, have this at the anniversary in February, or do it in January when we do CYO voting. There's no quests, no new outfits, no Grand Hero Battle, and no Forging Bonds. By the way, Forging Bonds didn't exist when CYO 1 came out, so not like that would have been a good opportunity, or anything. Now, I'm not against the idea of this type of banner, but there's flat out nothing celebratory about this. The least they could have done is something like give everyone another free pick of one of the original units from 8 years ago. Not like that would be devastating for the state of the game or anything. All I'm really getting from this banner is to celebrate Black Friday by spending your money. The one action new hero is Rearmed Vanitas. This little girl seems to be the Asuka replacement in the alternate world that the Book 6 Tempest plot is taking place in. Will she continue to be a pure antagonist, or maybe Sharena can use the power of friendship to win her over? As a unit, Vanitas is a green armored dragon. She has 51 HP, 48 attack, 18 speed, 46 defense, and 49 res. Vanitas has a res super boom and is a very min-maxed slow armor unit. For old skills, Vanitas brings back Scowling Fighter, which was only on Fallen Female Lear. Funnily, she is on a banner right now. For her weapon, Vanitas has Arcane Outburst, which we saw from the Tempest Trials. This is the 4th Arcane Dragonstone. First off, at start of either phase, grants Resonance Blades and Shields to unit and allies within 2 spaces. Outburst comes with the Barricade Warpable effect, so melee foes cannot warp within 3 tiles, and ranged foes cannot warp within 4 tiles. The other effects on this weapon seem to be the standard 4th gen perks. Slaying, plus 15 stats in combat, 25 true damage on hit, 15 flat DR, and 50% DR piercing. Unique to this Outburst weapon is that it comes with the Excel flat DR effect, so we're going to double the flat DR against enemy specials. All in all, not a super fancy weapon, but like Arcane Rex Bolt, this just has so much more true damage and flat DR over its predecessor. For dragons, Outburst essentially can replace like Barricade or High Dragon Wall if you wanted Warp Bubble. For other support, you got the simple plus 4 stats and Fall of Denial from both resonance statuses. I assume this is to show that Vanitas is indeed connected to Lord Asker, maybe even his kin or something. To stand out, Vanitas has a unique A skill called Unfledged God. After acting, or instantly if defending an Aether Raids, apply Divine Vein Stone to tiles within 2 spaces. Vanitas gets Distant Counter. We then have a lot of effects with no conditions, plus 10 attack, defense, and res in combat, 7 true damage and 5 DR, a free follow-up attack, and preempt pulses -1 instant cooldown. Last, if foe initiates, after combat, neutralize 5 positive statuses on foes within 3 rows or columns. This won't neutralize buffs applied at the same time, and Vanitas will cleanse statuses in order on the unit's bonus list. This skill starts off pretty standard. At the end though, Vanitas introduces a new ability. Status neutralization is still pretty rare considering the sheer number of statuses slapped on units these days. Taking out 5 is quite a lot, but I'm pretty sure Vanitas needs to survive combat for this effect to take place. In a sense, she feels a little like for Mortis. His turn-ending ability is super powerful, but can he survive combat? Same question here. To assist in that endeavor, Vanitas brings a new dragon-only special, Dragon Ice. This is quite literally the res counterpart to Dragon Flame from the 35th Anniversary Tiki. It's a 4 quid on Glacier special that also heals 30% max HP. Like other 40% tier specials, you need to meet 2 conditions. Someone needs to have their special ready, and either the foe needs to initiate or the Dragon Ice user is within 10 res of the enemy. It comes with higher cooldown, but compared to Dragon's Roar, Dragon Ice will provide healing and it can trigger even if you lose the res check. As long as it's enemy phase and specials are ready, you get that 40% DR. Another advantage is that infantry dragons who have slaying, like from arcane weapons, wink wink, can now use Dragon Ice with Lagu's Friend. For more defensive synergy, Vanitas has Attack and Res Twin M Save. This is the save skill that triggers against magical damage and it works for melee or ranged fights. You get plus 4 attack and res, disabled adaptive damage, heals 7 HP on hit, and the twin % DR effect allows the % DR specials that only trigger once per combat to now trigger up to twice per combat. This will be the first twin save skill for the newer physical/magical savior variants. Unlike Emblem Corrin, Vanitas isn't really sacrificing all her defense to be a magical damage tank. If you want to swap over to General Near or Far Save, then Vanitas should do just fine. In terms of playstyle, Vanitas is pretty much just a typical armor savior. She can set up stone terrain, provide warp bubble, and give the resonance statuses. In combat, Vanitas would tank magical damage attacks, but she won't get percent DR initially because she doesn't pre-charge Dragon Ice, and Scowling Fighter may uncharge the enemy special if you win that res check. Now if the enemy doesn't have guard, Scowling Fighter provides Breath's Head cooldown, which combined with Unfledged God's instant cooldown will ready Dragon Ice for the counterattack. Vanitas can heal back up and ready her 40% DR, which is going to trigger twice. Now if the enemy can trigger a special, Vanitas will get an extra 25 flat DR from Outburst and her Stone Terrain. In general, Vanitas can run any other savior skills, her defense is fine, and you technically could swap to Dragon Flame for defense scaling. If you want a percent DR ready for the first hit, you could use Counter Fighter with a 3 cooldown special. Shield Fighter could be an option for survivability. Vanitas could also use Wily or Slick Fighter for stat advantages, but you can run those as Sacred Seals. Last, Pair Up is interesting, but I'm not entirely sure it's worth swapping to here. If you don't want to risk getting followed up, you want guaranteed percent DR, and you want to deal damage, then Comet is an option. Dragon Ice should deal good burst, but Comet with Scowl might be a better deal. Either way, you can run Hardy Bearing to avoid Desperation, and with Comet, you're going to want to swap to Briar Save for the extra damage. For other skills, Vanitas could utilize Dragon's Wrath or Counter Roar Sacred Seals. These can give a little more percent damage reduction, although it may get pierced. Now, if you drop Scowling Fighter, you can use Breath's Sacred Seals if you need more cooldown. Overall, Vanitas isn't the craziest combative savior, but her buff neutralization might be pretty annoying. The only issue is that it doesn't work before you start fighting. In that case, you could try to pair up with strong units like Mythic Loki. There has been more mid-phased buffing going around, which Loki or Dual Thor can't stop. Vanitas might be able to get in the way of those types of buffing setups. Our next new hero is Harmonic Brave Ike and Roy, or I guess Braver Ike. I'm still kinda salty that the Engage reveal trailer showed Brave Ike on the mural, and then we never saw Brave Ike in that game at all. Maybe keep that in mind before assuming everything's set in stone for Fortune's Weave. Now, Brave Ike is an axe infantry once again. After going from middling speed to super high speed, then to no speed, and then back to high speed, Brave Ike is returning to his middling speed days. He has 41 HP, 49 attack, 30 speed, 49 defense, and 35 res. Ike has attacking defense super boons. It is important to point out that a speed bane will actually be pretty detrimental to this Ike's kit. We'll see why in a bit. For all skills, Ike has Brutal Tempest because I guess he's riding on Roy's horse. Ike's new weapon is Irvin Brilliance. At start of turn, Ike gives the Radiant Hero status and the low status to himself and allies within 2 spaces. Ike will come with Bulwark to block movement of enemies. He then copies the 4th gen arcane weapon effects. Sling, plus 15 stats, 25 true damage, 15 flat DR, and like Arcane Outburst, Ike will get Excel flat DR. Last, Ike will get -2 instant cooldown before his first follow-up attack. Radiant Hero is a distance/close counter status. It also tacks on +5 stats, 10 flat DR for first attacks, and last, Ike kinda just hands out the Emblem Ring true damage bonus for specials. Ironically, Emblem Ike's ring doesn't have this, so I guess making up for lost time, aka power creep. Brave Ike has ditched his unique B skill for his more modern unique Aether specials. Unlike how many past alts, Ike is back to a 5 cooldown Aether's course. It's still gonna be 4 cooldown with Slang though. Now when the special triggers, Ike deals damage equal to the greater of his or the enemy's defense. He heals 50% max HP, and he gets full DR piercing. Like his Refine, Brave Ike gives foes Desperation so they can use all their attacks first before Ike counters back. Ike is going to counter anti-healing effects by 50%, and he has Nelsie Disrupt. Last, Ike has the same percentage effects as Emblem Ike. It is worded much simpler because it's not going to be affected by enemies uncharging Aether or Ike needing to pre-charge it with Lagu's Friend. In other words, Ike gets 40% unpierceable DR for the first hit taken. For any consecutive hits, he will get 70% DR. All in all, this is like a combination of Johanna Ike and Emblem Ike specials. Ike is going to let enemies attack first before retaliating, but he's going to retaliate with a 100% defense scaling special that has full DR piercing and will heal half HP. It's kind of risky letting foes attack for free, but the idea is to trigger Ike's 70% unpierceable DR, and if Ike doesn't hit back, then the enemy can't trigger reflex effects. That's certainly not a relevant effect or anything. Before we move on, Ike and Roy's Harmonic skill grants Resonant Shields to allies from Path of Radiance and Binding Blade. The main effect is that the boys grant an extra action to a specific target and re-enable Kanto. If allies have acted, then Ike will refresh the highest HP ally. If only Ike is active, then he's going to self-refresh himself. Extra actions are always potent, and Ike can either refresh himself or an ally. This is kind of a crazy ability to just have on Ike of all people. Replacing his B skill, Ike will bring us a new inheritable option called Patience. It works for any melee unit, and we might see this thing a lot in the future. If unit initiates, foe can counterattack before unit's first attack. Wait a second, that's generally not good. We'll come back to this. For the rest of the skill, inflict -4 attack defense and res on the foe, prevent 1 follow-up attack, and restore 7 HP to the user when attacking. This skill grants 20% defense scaling, true damage, and flat DR. Last up, if unit speed is 30 or above at start of battle, then you trigger a potent follow-up. If you cannot follow up naturally or brave attack, then Patience gives a 100% potent follow-up. If you can attack twice in any kind of fashion, then Patience gives the weaker 50% damage hit. Most of Patience is pretty simple: follow-up denial, healing, true damage, and flat DR. Important note, the potent follow-up doesn't do any kind of speed comparing with the enemy, but you must have 30 speed entering battle. This is why if you get a speed bane on this Ike, it kind of bricks this effect. Now, assuming you do have 30 speed, middling speed units can get an extra attack guaranteed. Faye has always used the word guaranteed follow-up when that's obviously not actually true. In this case though, Patience gives an actual, for real, no lie, guaranteed follow-up. The main issue is that Patience requires you to wait for the enemy to attack first. You can take advantage of this with Reflex. You let the enemy hit you, and then you hit back harder. Now if you think about it, Patience could also mess with foes using damage reflection on the enemy phase. You can initiate, make the enemy hit you, and if they don't follow up after you counter, then Reflex doesn't do anything. If they do follow up though, well, you might be in trouble. This is certainly an interesting skill. Definitely keep an eye on it if you're looking for damage. It builds out a Quick Riposte 3, which still doesn't have a 4-star free-to-play friendly source. A potential partner pairing for Patience will be Ike's new inheritable A skill, Warrior's Blow. This is basically the attack and defense version of Duelist Blow. +9 attack and defense, full tempo, and you get flat DR for first attacks. If you initiate combat, you get 15 flat DR. If it's enemy phase, you get 7. Warrior's Blow builds out of Armored Blow 3 or Warding Blow, so it's super easy to inherit along with Patience. If you like Duelist Blow, then this is a similar skill, but keep in mind that the flat DR only works on first attacks. With Duelist Blow, the idea is that your faster units are not getting followed up. That might not be the case if you're stacking attack and defense only. Ike has a lot of old and new skills, so let's review his game plan. First, Ike gives the Radiant Hero and low status to his team. On either phase, thanks to Patience, Ike is going to let the enemy attack first. Thanks to Aether's Course, Ike also lets the enemy follow up if they can. Like before, Brave Ike is trying to tank all the enemy attacks before countering. He gets 40% unpierceable DR on the first hit, then 70% for any hits after. One issue with Ike's skills is that Radiant Hero's flat DR and Warrior Blow's flat DR both only work for first attacks. For follow-up attacks, Ike will lose a decent amount of flat DR. He still gets a lot from his weapon though, and Patience, plus you get the higher 70% DR from his special. All of this is to say is that Ike is kind of spreading out his tanking power. Now, after the enemy uses their attacks, Ike will get distant counter and LC disrupt to fight anyone. If he only got hit once, Tempo brings Aether to 3 cooldown, and Ike's first attack brings it to 2 cooldown. Thanks to Patience, Ike is guaranteed a potent follow-up, which activates the -2 instant cooldown on Irvin. This will charge Aether, and it's going to deal 100% damage because Ike either follows up naturally, or the potent follow-up deals full damage. Now to empower Aether's 100% defense scaling, Patience adds another 20% defense. Ike will get 25 true damage from Irvin, and an extra 16 via Radiant Hero. This Aether has full DR piercing, and heals Ike for half his max HP. To give this Ike a slightly different flair, he has Brutal Tempest for 3 movement and Kanto. His Harmonic skill can self-refresh if only Ike is gone. The new Harmonics come with fully functional kits. You can technically replace Warrior's Blow with Excel, and since Ike needs to survive, you could run pure defense and res boosting skills. Something like boost skills would be nice for extra HP, same with Squad A seals. Now if you can get Ike a lot of pre-charging cooldown, you could proc Aether on his first attack, then recharge it again on the follow-up attack with Irvin and a pulse on C skill. On the flip side, if you're not really a fan of giving the enemy desperation, then you could cancel it with Hardy Bearing. Ike will need more cooldown, but if he can retaliate with Aether immediately, then there could be better than patiently waiting. To be honest, Hardy Bearing plus Patience could be the play for initiating, since Ike gets a guaranteed follow-up, and with Tempo he would trigger Aether after the enemy's first counterattack. I guess the downside is that the enemy might use their own special plus things like Reflex, but Ike won't be taking follow-ups before using his own. In conclusion, Harmonic Brave Ike is using the same defensive plan like his emblem form, and that certainly comes with risk. Perhaps that's why he has the more player phase kit with Warrior's Blow, Brutal Tempest, and the self-refreshing Harmonized skill. Patience is definitely super intriguing because it's an actual for real guaranteed follow-up. If you initiate and use Hardy Bearing, then Ike can go for the KO instead of tanking all the attacks first. That being said, Hardy Bearing could also mess up Ike's tanking game plan, so do be careful. It's been a really long time since the last Lyn ult. Harmonic Braver Lyn and Lucina are a colorless bow-cav. I don't think Lyn is ever getting her sword again. For stats, this Lyn has 40 HP, 47 attack, 49 speed, 30 defense, and 24 res. She has speed and res super boons. For ult skills, Lyn has Arch Rival, which normally can't activate its cooldown perks on a colorless unit. That won't be the case for this Lyn. Now, her other skill is Attack Speed Hone Assault for easy field buffs and 50% DR piercing. Lyn's weapon is the intrinsic Mulligear. For allies within 3 rows or columns, grant +5 attack and speed, 7 true damage, no guard, and then if they outspeed their opponent, they get no follow-up. For Lyn, she gets the same 4th gen arcane weapon perks like Ike, Slaying, +15 stats, 25 true damage, and 15 flat DR. Lyn herself gets no guard and no follow-up. Last, she heals 7 HP after combat. Lyn's support effect is just like Halloween Ranal's, just changing out the 7 flat DR for no follow-up. Her combative perks are all pretty standard, including the good old no guard plus no follow-up offensive combo. With all this said, this weapon has a style. Like Brave Violet, Lyn gets a ranged attack style to hit from 3 spaces away. As per usual, most of the effects listed here are just drawbacks, including being blocked by Bulwark from an extended range, ranged armors and distant counter/close counter users can fight back, and this attack is still treated as a 2 range move for skill effects. However, unlike Violet, Lyn can use this style every turn. She also gains weapon triangle advantage against armored or cavalry foes. This will not work if the foe triggers Savior. Besides the stupid long attack range on a 3 movement bow-cav, Lyn can trigger Arch Rival's cooldown effects on armors and calves. She's not using the usual color system, instead she's basing it on class type. Now, the one stipulation is that the weapon triangle effect doesn't work if the foe uses Savior, which is like 99% of arm units. What this means is that Lyn needs to target the armor foe directly if you want the weapon triangle effect. She still gets to move and then attack with this style unlike her emblem form, but Bulwark could prevent Lyn from reaching that Savior. Unless you can get past onto this Lyn somehow, there is still some counterplay to at least the weapon triangle part. Now moving on, Brave Lyn's unique B skill has shifted over to her more recent unique A skills. Sake's Decree states, at start of either phase, grant Empathy and the status for 40% damage reduction for 1 hit when you initiate to unit and allies within 2 spaces. Lyn herself will get Fortress for Kanto and full feud coverage to disable support skills. In battle, she gets +9 to all stats, 7 true damage, 7 flat DR. Last, if decreasing the speed roll by doubling for 10 would allow Lyn to trigger a follow-up attack, then Lyn triggers a 100% potent follow-up. This Lyn provides empathy stats and some regular % support. Feud is always great to have, and she has the 100% potent follow-up effect that others have had this year. Unlike Patience, you need to be within 5 speed of the enemy for this one to trigger. For Lyn and Lucina's Harmonized skill, like this banner concept, she just copies Ike's and Roy's skills. The only difference is that instead of Resonance Shields, Lyn provides Resonance Blades. Lyn can refresh allies from Blazing Blade and Awakening, or she can refresh herself. Lyn only gets to use her style once per turn, but still, kinda crazy to get another action from this type of unit. Lyn's new inheritable B skill is Execution Breath. If you're familiar with Conjuring Breath from Ninja Goveg, then this is the physical variant. If unit initiates, deals 7 damage as combat begins, foe cannot recover HP during or after combat, inflict -4 speed and defense on the foe, deal true damage equal to the greater of 20% of the foe's speed or defense stats, reduce damage by 7. Last, unit gets bread type cooldown. Like its counterpart, this skill upgrades from Poison Strike, and it's just a pure upgrade over Assassin Strike. As a reminder, the anti-healing effect is basically deep wounds, so units like Ike are still gonna heal at least half the amount. Harmonic Brave Lyn's playstyle is fairly standard minus the whole 6 space attack range deal. She provides Empathy, 40% DR for 1 hit, and then Hone Assault's field buffs and 50% DR piercing as support. If Lyn can fight a regular enemy or she doesn't use her style, then she can use Execution Breath's cooldown and no guard to charge Arch Rival in 2 hits. She can then proc it with her 100% potent follow-up 3rd hit. Now, typically Lyn is going to eat a counterattack. She has Arch Rival's unpierceable 40% DR and her regular 40% DR status. Her base kit will add 29 flat DR to utilize with that percent damage reduction. If you activate her style, Lyn can outrange normal 2-range foes. Her feud effect could disable Volley's distance/close counter support, and good thing there isn't a status that gives those effects to allies. Oh wait. Well, at least if Lyn can target an armor or cavalry foe directly, she will get weapon triangle advantage, which means extra attack for Lyn and lower attack for the enemy. She also triggers Arch Rival's +2 cooldown on the enemy to uncharge their special, and Lyn gets -2 instant cooldown. This will allow her to charge Arch Rival faster, and even if the foe has tempo, Lyn would still proc Arch Rival on her 3rd potent follow-up. In terms of other skills, there's something I would really replace at the moment. If you can get Breath type cooldown support, you could swap out Execution Breath. Something like Speed of Defense Shackle could add more debuffing support, if that skill exists in the future. However, Lyn would lose 7 flat DR and the anti-healing effect. Now, while you can run Desperation or Sweep skills, obviously those are going to cut into Lyn's damage output. Now, for other ways to utilize this Lyn's crazy range, you can chip away at enemy formations with things like Savage Blow or just charge and deploy AoE specials. Unlike the Emblem Ring, I don't see anything stating you can't use AoEs this time. Now, for alternate C skills, you can use Shadow skills to reposition. Lyn re-enables her Kanto effect with the extra action from the Harmonic skill, so she could kind of ferry the entire team by herself. Overall, Harmonic Brave Lyn doesn't seem to have any super unusual combat methods, but she is a colorless unit that can trigger Arch Rival versus armors and cavaliers. Surviving counterattacks is still the main concern, like with pretty much any offensive unit, but Lyn wants to use her crazy range to snipe those high value targets. That'll be it for this very strange banner. I wouldn't say I'm really thrilled with the premise, but I'm not entirely against the idea of special CWL re-entries. My main issue is that the execution for this celebratory event is so uninspiring and lazy that it really doesn't feel special. The fact it was released on Black Friday kinda says it all. Now if you aren't summoning, well, there's no Grand Hero Battle unit. So yeah, I guess I'll be back in December when Book 10 arrives. There should be a Fae channel by then, as per usual, and I would hope a more appropriate celebration event instead of whatever this was. Thank you for watching, good luck with your summons, and I will see you in the next video.